In the swirling vortex of the National Football League, where fortunes rise and fall with the flick of a wrist and the echo of a whistle, the Cleveland Browns find themselves adrift in a storm of their own making, a tempest fueled by stubborn resolve and unspoken regrets. The air in the Dawg Pound grows thicker by the day, heavy with the scent of desperation and the faint, flickering hope that clings to the sidelines like morning mist on a frozen field. At the heart of this chaos stands Kevin Stefanski, the once promising architect of gridiron dreams, now a figure shrouded in shadows of doubt, his every decision a ripple that threatens to capsize the ship he was meant to steer. Whispers from the locker room corridors, those hallowed halls where secrets are traded like plays on a chalkboard, paint a portrait of a man unraveling, his compass spinning wildly as the franchise teeters on the brink of irrelevance. It's a saga that unfolds not in the roar of sold-out stadiums but in the quiet fractures of trust, where a coach's unyielding grip on the past chokes the life from a future begging to breathe. Imagine the scene. A press conference room bathed in the harsh glow of overhead lights, microphones jutting forward like accusatory fingers, and Stefanski at the podium, his voice steady but his eyes betraying the storm within. He vows, with the conviction of a man clutching a fraying rope, that Dillon Gabriel will remain the sentinel at the helm, the starting quarterback whose arm has launched more interceptions than touchdowns in this beleaguered season. The words hang in the air, dense and unyielding, a declaration that slices through the assembled crowd of reporters and fans alike, leaving behind a wake of stunned silence followed by the low rumble of outrage. From the rafters of distant coaching suites to the dive bars of Cleveland's working-class neighborhoods, the reaction builds like thunder on the horizon. Coaches shaking their heads in disbelief, analysts scribbling furious notes, and the faithful Dawg Pound howling into the night. This isn't mere stubbornness. It's a fortress built on sand, a refusal to acknowledge the tide that has long since turned against him. Stefanski's choice echoes the folly of captains who ignore the creak of their timbers, convinced that one more gale will somehow bend to their will, even as the waves crash higher and the hull groans under the strain. Yet amid this gathering darkness, a beacon flickers on the periphery, a young force named Shedeur Sanders, whose name alone evokes the electric pulse of potential unrealized, a quarterback forged in the fires of expectation and tempered by the unyielding grind of practice fields slick with sweat and ambition. Sanders lingers in the wings, not as a shadow but as a silhouette etched against the dying light of mediocrity. His every throw in preseason drills a symphony of precision and poise that whispers of revolutions yet to come. He moves with the quiet grace of a predator biding its time, his arm a whip-crack of promise that slices through defenders like autumn wind through barren branches, his reads as instinctive as the heartbeat of the game itself. But Stefanski, ensnared in his web of misplaced loyalty, turns a blind eye, relegating this prodigy to the bench where dreams ferment into quiet resentment. It's a cruelty wrapped in strategy, a sidelining that doesn't just bench a player but benches an entire franchise's redemption arc. The locker room feels it, the subtle shifts in body language, the averted gazes during film sessions, the way veterans murmur about the spark that's been smothered, leaving only the dull embers of Gabriel's tentative starts. How long can this charade persist before the fractures spiderweb into collapse, before the players, those warriors bound by blood and turf, rise up against the man who promised victory but delivers only echoes of defeat? Enter Jon Gruden, the silver-tongued maestro of the sideline, a ghost from the NFL's raucous past who materializes like a specter at a feast, his voice cutting through the din with the sharpness of a well-honed blade. In a post that ripples across the digital ether, igniting forums and feeds from coast to coast, Gruden doesn't merely opine, he ignites. He envisions a Browns reborn under his tutelage, with Sanders as the beating heart, the catalyst to transmute this faltering outfit into a juggernaut capable of storming the gates of playoff glory. It's no idle musing from a retired sage, but a gauntlet thrown down with the ferocity of a man who has tasted Super Bowl confetti and knows its bitter absence all too well. Gruden's words land like a thunderclap in a drought-stricken plain, stirring the parched soil of Cleveland's hopes and forcing Stefanski's gaze into the unforgiving mirror of his own tenure. Suddenly, the coach's peculiarities, the baffling play calls that unravel in real time, the sideline outbursts that mask deeper disquiet, take on the hue of harbingers, signs that the endgame has quietly commenced. Insiders, those unseen puppeteers who pull strings from shadowed offices, murmur of Stefanski's name surfacing in whispers for distant thrones, not as a seeker of greener pastures but as a soul adrift, resigned to the inevitable parting. He's not scheming escapes to offensive coordinator gigs in sunnier climes. No, the aura around him speaks of a man who has stared into the abyss of his own making and found it staring back, unblinking and indifferent. The unraveling accelerates with the inexorable pull of gravity, each misstep a pebble that avalanches into boulders of consequence. Consider the tie at 17-17 against a foe unworthy of such drama, a moment that should have been etched in amber as a pivot toward triumph but instead exposes the raw nerves of an offense teetering on collapse. Gabriel, the third-round rookie thrust into the Coliseum's glare, absorbs a sack that dangles defeat like a noose, his hesitation a chink in the armor that luck alone mends in the nick of time. Critics pounce, their barbs laced with the frustration of eyewitnesses to a slow-motion wreck, yet defenders rally with pleas for patience, citing his greenness as if inexperience were a shield rather than a sword turned inward. But patience has limits, and in Cleveland, it frays like old rope under the weight of repeated letdowns. The Jets, that ragtag assembly deemed the league's weakest link, administer a humbling that should have shattered complacency like glass under a boothiel, yet Stefanski clings tighter, his defiance a mask for the unhappiness gnawing at his core. It's not avarice that drives him, no contract disputes or salary skirmishes cloud this narrative, but a profound disillusionment, a soul-weary drift where the fire that once blazed in his veins now smolders in ash. He stands amid the wreckage, not plotting resurrection but bracing for the fall, his legacy a cautionary tale of how the mighty can wither when they refuse the hand extended from the bench. As the season's final 7 or 8 chapters loom like storm fronts on the calendar, the Browns confront a crossroads etched in urgency, their path bifurcating between stagnation and salvation. The Ravens await, a juggernaut primed to exploit every fissure, and with them comes the clarion call for Sanders to ascend, to grasp the reins and gallop toward horizons unseen. To persist with Gabriel is to court oblivion, to wager the franchise's soul on a dice roll already showing snake eyes. Gruden's clarion cry amplifies the chorus, a veteran's verdict that resonates from the polished suites of team owners to the weathered bleachers of First Energy Stadium, demanding action before the echoes of regret drown out the cheers. Stefanski's grip loosens not by choice but by the inexorable tide of truth, his era closing like a book whose final pages were scrawled in invisible ink. Sanders, patient sentinel of untapped glory, embodies the dawn that pierces this interminable night, his arm a bridge to contention, his vision a map to the promised land of Lombardi trophies and undying loyalty. The franchise hangs in the balance, suspended between the inertia of yesterday and the ignition of tomorrow, and in this pivotal hour, Cleveland must choose, cling to the sinking vessel or hoist the sails for uncharted waters. What say you, faithful viewer, as the drama coils tighter around the Browns' beleaguered heart? Will Stefanski's fortress of denial crumble under the weight of Gruden's gauntlet and Sanders' silent supremacy, or will Cleveland's leadership dally until the playoffs fade like a distant mirage? Drop your hottest takes in the comments below. Do you see Shedeur Sanders storming the field before Thanksgiving, or is this saga destined for a mid-season mutiny? If this breakdown lit a fire in your football soul, smash that like button to fuel the frenzy, subscribe for unfiltered dives into the NFL's wildest undercurrents, and ring the bell so you never miss the next seismic shift. Together, let's roar for the Dawg Pound's redemption. Your voice could be the spark that tips the scales.